The cold wind howled through the empty streets as the vampire alien girl staggered forward, her vision blurry and her body growing weaker with each step. She had been traveling for days without food, searching desperately for something, anything, to quench her thirst. Her species was known for its hunger, always thirsty, always craving blood. But now she was on the verge of dying, and nothing could save her. Her skin, once a brilliant shade of violet, was now pale and sickly. Her glowing red eyes, which used to strike fear into the hearts of anyone who looked at her, were dull and lifeless. She tried to move faster, but her strength was leaving her. She felt as if her very soul was draining away with each passing minute. The hunger was unbearable. It wasn't just a need for food, it was a hunger that consumed her every thought, her every breath. As a vampire, she had always been able to control it, to fight it off for short periods of time. But now it was too much. The thirst was overwhelming. She collapsed on the cold pavement, her knees buckling beneath her. Her heart raced, but not in the usual way. It was weak and erratic, barely keeping her alive. Her head spun, and her vision blurred even more. She had never felt so helpless before. Her race, so powerful and feared, was now on the edge of extinction, at least for her. She was alone, with no way to survive. Her eyes scanned the dark alley she had collapsed in, hoping to find someone to save her. But there was nothing. The streets were empty. The city around her was silent, as if even the world had given up on her. She reached out weakly, her fingers brushing against the cold ground. It was then that she heard a sound, faint at first, but growing louder with each passing moment. Footsteps, a human. She could hear the soft crunch of shoes on the gravel, growing closer and closer. Her heart skipped a beat, the little strength she had left flooding back with the hope of survival. She could smell him now, the faint scent of sweat and earth. He was close. Her senses sharpened, but she couldn't move. Her body refused to obey her commands. The footsteps stopped in front of her. She could feel his presence now, standing right before her. She could sense no fear in him, no hesitation. The human's heartbeat was steady, calm. It was strange he wasn't scared of her. She was a monster, a vampire alien, and yet this man did not tremble before her. With great effort, she lifted her head to meet his gaze. His eyes were wide with surprise, but there was no terror, no panic, just curiosity. "You're dying," the human said softly, his voice calm and steady. "You're thirsty, aren't you?" Her mouth went dry, and the thirst roared in her mind, louder than ever before. She could feel her fangs aching, craving the blood she desperately needed. But how could this human help her? He wasn't like the others. He didn't know what she was, what she needed, and yet he stood there, not backing away. Her heart raced again, this time for a different reason. Could he be the answer? Could this strange human offer what she needed to survive? Or was he just another person she would drain of life, never to return? The world seemed to stand still, the only sound the echo of her own rapid breathing and the human's calm heartbeat. She was dying, but something about this human told her that there was more to him than met the eye. The vampire alien girl's body trembled as she stared up at the human, her senses wild with hunger. Her mind raced, but everything felt clouded by the intense thirst gnawing at her. She could feel her fangs growing sharp in anticipation, aching to sink into his flesh, to quench the fire that burned inside her. But something about him stopped her. He wasn't running. He wasn't screaming in terror. He wasn't even afraid. The human stood there, watching her with an odd calmness. His eyes, those deep brown eyes, held no fear, just a strange curiosity. She had expected him to back away, to flee in fear like everyone else. But he didn't. He seemed unfazed. "Why aren't you scared?" She managed to whisper, her voice weak and strained. It was a question she didn't think would ever need to be asked. After all, she was a predator, a creature born of darkness, known for striking fear into the hearts of all who crossed her path. Yet this human wasn't afraid. "I'm not afraid of you," he replied, his voice steady, as if they were having a casual conversation. "I can tell you're in pain, but I don't fear you." Her heart, or what was left of it, skipped a beat. This wasn't normal. She was a creature that inspired terror in all. Yet this human stood before her as if she was nothing more than another troubled soul, in need of help. Could it be that he truly didn't see her as a monster? Could it be that he saw her for what she really was, a being struggling, just like him? The human knelt down, his eyes never leaving hers. He wasn't running, but he wasn't reaching out to touch her either. He was waiting for something. What? She wasn't sure. "Please," she whispered, unable to hold it back any longer. "I need blood. I need it now." He nodded slowly, as if he understood. "I know," he said softly. "I can help you." His words sent a wave of confusion through her. Help? How could he help her? What did he mean? She tried to move, to get closer to him, but her body felt heavy. The hunger was taking over, and her instinct screamed at her to feed. But there was something about this human that made her hesitate. Why was he offering this? Why wasn't he afraid of what she was capable of? With a deep breath, the human stepped forward, closer than she had expected. She froze. He didn't flinch. He didn't even hesitate. Instead, he held out his neck to her, the pulse beneath the skin strong and steady. Her fangs ached again, the hunger taking control of her once more. "You can have it," he said quietly, his eyes locked onto hers. "You can have what you need." The words hung in the air, and for a moment, everything else disappeared. The city round them, the darkness, the cold, it all faded. All she could see, all she could focus on, was his neck, his vulnerable neck, offering her the life-giving blood she had been longing for. For a moment, the alien girl wondered if she was dreaming. Could it be real? Was he really offering himself to her, trusting her enough to allow her to feed from him? The hunger inside her roared louder than ever, but now, another feeling stirred inside her, something she had never experienced before. She wasn't just thirsty. She wasn't just hungry. There was something else, something that felt strange. And as she reached forward, ready to take the offer, she felt a flicker of doubt. What if this was more than just survival? What if this moment held something deeper? Her fangs grazed the soft skin of his neck, and for a moment, time seemed to slow. The world around them was a blur, but the steady pulse beneath her lips was all she could focus on. Her instinct screamed at her to feed, to drain him, to fill the emptiness inside. It would be so easy. She had done it countless times before. But this was different. The human's blood, his life essence, was so close, yet she couldn't bring herself to do it. The warmth of his body against hers was comforting in a way she hadn't expected. It wasn't just physical heat. There was something about him, something she couldn't quite put her finger on, that made her hesitate. Maybe it was the gentleness in his eyes, the kindness in his voice, or the fact that he wasn't afraid of her. He wasn't running. He wasn't pleading for his life. He was simply there, offering her his neck, offering her trust. For a long moment, she stood frozen, her fangs hovering just inches from his skin. Her mind was in turmoil. The thirst was unbearable, but it wasn't just hunger she felt. There was something deeper, something stirring within her that made her question everything she had known about herself, about her kind. Was she really just a monster? Was this what she had become? He shifted slightly, his pulse quickening as if he could sense her inner conflict. "You don't have to be afraid," he said softly, his voice a soothing whisper in the silence. "I trust you." The words echoed in her mind, and something inside her snapped. She wasn't sure what it was, whether it was his trust, his kindness, or something else entirely, but it was enough to break through the wall of hunger. For the first time in her existence, she wasn't just feeding to survive. She was standing on the edge of something far more complex, something she hadn't been ready for. Slowly, cautiously, she lowered her fangs to his neck. She could feel his heart racing beneath the surface, but there was no fear in him, only trust, only acceptance. Her teeth pierced his skin, and the rich, warm blood flowed into her mouth. The sensation was overwhelming. It was everything she had ever craved and more. The thirst, the hunger, was sated in an instant, but it didn't stop there. She felt something shift inside her, something deeper than the physical. His blood wasn't just feeding her body. It was feeding her soul. Her mind swirled with strange, unfamiliar feelings. She saw flashes, memories, emotions, images from his life. The human had no idea what he was giving her, but it was more than just blood. It was a part of him, a part of his very essence, and now it was a part of her. For a brief second, she almost pulled away, overwhelmed by the flood of emotions coursing through her. But she didn't. She couldn't. There was something between them now, something unspoken. A bond forming, one that she didn't fully understand, but couldn't ignore. The world outside her faded again. There was only him, only the steady pulse beneath her lips and the life she was drinking from him. She wasn't sure what would happen next. She didn't know if she could walk away from this moment, or if she even wanted to. All she knew was that this human had changed everything. His blood filled her, and for the first time in a long while, she didn't feel like the monster. She felt human, and that was both terrifying and exhilarating. As the last drop of blood left his neck, she pulled away, her heart pounding in a way she had never experienced before. She stood there, motionless, staring at the human before her, her fangs still sharp, her body still thrumming with the energy of his life coursing through her. But it wasn't just his blood she had taken. It was something far deeper, something she hadn't expected. She felt his emotions swirling inside her: fear, curiosity, longing. She could sense his thoughts, his memories, fragments of his life flashing before her eyes. She staggered back, her mind spinning, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Her entire existence had been defined by one thing: hunger. She had always been a predator, always searching for the next meal, the next victim. But now, she wasn't sure anymore. She wasn't sure if she was just a monster or if she was something more. Something had changed in her, and it wasn't just the thirst that had been satisfied. She felt connected to him in a way that was impossible to explain. The human stood before her, still breathing, his hand lightly pressed to his neck where she had fed. His eyes met hers, and for the first time, she saw something else in them, something that mirrored what she was feeling. It was understanding, but also something else, something deeper. She had fed from him, but it was as if they were now intertwined in some way. Their lives connected by that single, intimate act. He didn't look at her with fear anymore. In fact, there was something almost affectionate in his gaze, something that made her chest tighten. She had never seen that before, not in anyone. It felt alien, yet familiar at the same time, and it made her uneasy. "What are you?" he asked softly, his voice barely above a whisper. She opened her mouth to answer, but the words didn't come. How could she explain herself to him? What was she really? A vampire alien? A monster? A predator? She didn't know anymore. Everything she had known was now in question. She had always believed in the survival of the fittest, in feeding to stay alive. But now, after everything that had happened between them, she didn't feel like a predator anymore. She felt human, and that thought terrified her. "I don't know," she finally whispered, the words slipping out before she could stop them. "I don't know what I am anymore." His expression softened, and he took a small step toward her. "You're not just a monster," he said quietly. "You're more than that. You have the choice to be more." She blinked, unable to comprehend what he was saying. How could he possibly understand what she was going through? How could he see her as anything other than a monster, a creature to be feared? But as he stood there, his words hanging in the air, she felt a strange pull toward him. Maybe it was his kindness, maybe it was the bond they now shared, but something inside her stirred. The connection between them was undeniable, and it was growing stronger by the second. The thirst was gone now, replaced by something else, a feeling she couldn't name. Something warm and unsettling. She had taken his blood, but she had also taken a part of him. And for the first time, she realized that she didn't just want his blood anymore. She wanted something more. She wanted to understand him, to learn what it meant to be human, to feel the way he did. But could she do that? Could she change? Could she stop being the monster and become something else? Something more than she had ever been before? The silence stretched on, thick and heavy with unspoken questions. She didn't know the answer yet, but for the first time, she felt like there was hope. A hope she had never believed in until now. And for the first time, she didn't feel so alone. The night stretched on, but the silence between them felt heavier than before. She could still feel the warmth of his blood lingering inside her, coursing through her veins, fueling her. But now, there was a sense of something far greater than just physical need. A connection unspoken, yet undeniable, had formed between them. Something deeper than she could ever have imagined. The human hadn't moved, hadn't pulled away from her. He stood still, watching her with those calm eyes, as if he understood exactly what was happening within her. Even though she didn't, he had given her his blood. But now, she realized, he had given her so much more. His trust, his vulnerability, something that neither she nor her kind had ever been shown. She had always been the one to take, the one to dominate, the one to control. But now, she was the one who had been given something precious. "You didn't have to do this," she whispered, her voice trembling, not from hunger this time, but from something else, something far more complex. "Why did you trust me?" He stepped closer, his gaze never wavering. "Because I believe in you," he said simply. "I believe that you're more than what you've been told you are. You have a choice." Her heart, which had long been a hollow void, seemed to stir at his words. His voice was so calm, so sure, it sent a ripple of doubt through her thoughts. Could she really change? Could she really stop being the monster she had always been? She had fed on countless lives, drained them of their blood, leaving nothing behind but corpses. It had always been about survival, about the instinct to feed, to stay alive. But now, something had shifted. The hunger was still there, but it no longer consumed her. The strange bond between them had replaced it, a new, unfamiliar feeling that was both terrifying and thrilling at once. "You don't understand," she whispered, almost to herself. "I was born to be this way. I was born to feed, to survive. It's all I've known." He took another step closer, his presence radiating an unexpected warmth. "I understand more than you think," he said softly. "I've always believed that we are not defined by our past, by what others say we are. We have the power to choose who we want to be, no matter where we come from." Her chest tightened as his words sank in. She had spent so long believing that she was bound to her nature, that there was no escape from what she was. But now, she wasn't so sure. The bond she shared with him felt real, felt alive. It was more than just blood. It was something she couldn't put into words. It was a pull, an undeniable force that tugged at her, urging her to step away from the darkness and into the unknown. "I don't know if I can change," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I don't know if I even want to. I'm not sure I can be anything other than what I've always been." He reached out, gently brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You don't have to be anything you don't want to be, but you can start by making a choice, and that's where it all begins." For a moment, she stood there, lost in the enormity of what he was saying. A choice, could it really be that simple? Could she truly choose a different path, one where she wasn't just a monster, a creature of hunger and destruction? Could she be something more? His hand lingered near her face, and in that moment, she realized he wasn't afraid of her. He wasn't afraid of what she had done or what she was. He saw her for who she was now, the person she was choosing to become. It was terrifying, and yet, it was also freeing. "I don't know how to begin," she admitted, her voice barely audible. "You've already begun," he replied, his tone soft but certain. By asking the question, the air between them was thick with the weight of unspoken possibilities. She wasn't sure where this path would lead, or if she could ever truly escape the monster within her. But for the first time in her life, she felt a glimmer of hope, a hope that maybe, just maybe, she could choose a different way. The days passed in a blur, each one more confusing than the last. She could still feel his blood inside her, like a fire that burned within her veins, never quite extinguishing. The connection between them was undeniable, but it was more than just the physical bond. It was something deeper, something she couldn't escape. The human had changed her, had awakened something inside her that had long been dormant, and now she wasn't sure what to do with it. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw his face, felt the warmth of his touch, heard his voice in her mind. He had offered her his blood, yes, but he had also offered her something else, a chance to be more than just the monster she had always believed herself to be. But that possibility terrified her. She had been a creature of darkness, of hunger, of survival. Her kind had never known mercy, never known love. They had been predators, living by the law of the strongest. But now, with his blood flowing through her, everything felt different. She wasn't sure who she was anymore. She wasn't sure what she wanted to be. Her nights were restless, filled with strange dreams and feelings she couldn't quite understand. She could still hear his heartbeat, faint and steady, like a drum that beat in time with her own. The bond between them was stronger than ever, and she could feel his presence even when he wasn't around. It was as if he had become a part of her, and she wasn't sure if she wanted to let go of that. One night, as she stood on the rooftop, looking out over the city, she felt it again, a pull, a yearning. She wasn't sure if it was for him or for something else entirely, but it was there, deep within her, urging her to make a choice. She had been running from it, trying to ignore it, but it was becoming impossible to deny. The cold wind whipped around her, but she didn't feel it. All she could focus on was the steady rhythm of her own heart and the voice that echoed in her mind. "You have the power to choose," he had told her. "What do you want it to be?" The question haunted her, following her wherever she went. What did she want it to be? Could she really change? Could she really turn away from the darkness and embrace something different? Something that didn't involve blood, death, and destruction? Her gaze fell to the city below, to the people who walked obliviously through their lives, unaware of the monster who watched over them. She didn't want to hurt them. She didn't want to be the predator anymore. But the hunger still lingered, a part of her that was hard to shake. With a deep breath, she made her decision. It wasn't going to be easy. It wasn't going to be perfect, but she wasn't going to let the darkness define her anymore. She had the power to choose, and she was ready to find out who she could become. The monster didn't have to be who she was forever. There was more to her than that, and she was finally ready to discover it. The moment of decision had arrived. She stood at the edge, her mind racing, heart pounding, torn between what she had always been and what she could be. The hunger, that insatiable need, still lingered deep inside her, a constant reminder of what she had done, of what she was capable of. Yet, now, there was something else, a flicker of hope, a spark of something she had never known before, something that made her question her own existence, her purpose. She had come to realize something important. She wasn't alone in this. The human, with his trust, his unwavering faith in her, had shown her that there was a different path, a path where she didn't have to feed on others to survive, where she didn't have to be a monster to exist. And as she stood there, alone on the rooftop, she understood that the choice was hers. She could walk away from it all, from the darkness that had defined her life, or she could embrace this new, uncertain path. It was terrifying. The unknown always was. But the thought of continuing down the same path, of feeding off the helpless, of being the thing everyone feared, left a bitter taste in her mouth. Her thoughts drifted to him, the human. He had given her his blood, yes, but he had also given her more. He had given her a chance at something better. And now, she couldn't ignore the truth any longer. She was capable of change. She had the power to redefine who she was, to choose a different way. The question was, could she leave behind the darkness of her past and step into the light of something new? Her mind flashed to the first time she had met him, the surprise, the shock, the strange calm in his eyes. She had expected him to fear her, to run from her, but he hadn't. Instead, he had offered her his neck, his life. He had trusted her, and now it was her turn to trust herself, to trust that she could make a difference in her own life, and maybe in the world around her. The weight of that responsibility was heavy, but it wasn't crushing. It felt freeing. For the first time, she realized that she didn't have to hide in the shadows anymore. She didn't have to be defined by her thirst, by her need to feed. There was more to her than that. With a deep breath, she turned away from the city skyline. The moonlight bathed her in its gentle glow, casting long shadows across the rooftops. She wasn't running anymore. She was moving forward. The bond she shared with the human was still there, still strong, but it no longer controlled her. She was in control now. The path ahead was uncertain, but she knew one thing for sure: she was no longer the monster she had been. And whatever came next, she was ready.